After the break in London, a ban on wet wipes as the extent of pollution in the Thames is revealed. Tonight, the war on wet wipes.
These are wet wipes that have been snagged and bound onto sticks. They're really disgusting.
With new data showing the Thames is clogged with wipes and sewage, the government promises a new crackdown on water pollution.
It's simply regurgitating ideas we've heard before that have never been delivered. This is, for example, the third occasion the government has announced they're going to deal with wet wipes.
Also on the programme, the climate campaigners facing jail.
We'll be the change that the world needs to see. We'll be...
The protesters who closed the Dartford crossing have been in court. De-stressing the start to your holiday, the London airport finally changing the rules on liquids and laptops. And carrying on her legacy, Dame Barbara Windsor's husband gets ready to take on the marathon.
I think she'd be immensely proud, not only of me, but of all her friends.
Good evening. London's waters are full of wet wipes. In every 100 metres of the Thames, you're likely to find 14 wipes that have been flushed down the toilet and contain so much microplastic they won't disintegrate. They're clogging our sewers, diverting our rivers' currents and killing wildlife. Well, today, the government announced their plans to tackle water pollution, one of which is a ban on wipes that contain plastic. But the Thames, already one of the most polluted rivers in the country, is it too little, too late? Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
A sunny spring day on the Thames, perfect conditions for messing about in boats, until you discover what's in the water.
This is some sewage that was stuck to one of our boats yesterday that we had to clean off at the end of our session. That was released into the Thames recently. Especially with all the rainwater, we see a lot more gross stuff on the boats afterwards.
Every year, Fulham Reach Boat Club in Hammersmith helps hundreds of children and adults get a taste of rowing. But sewage discharges into the river have become a real problem.
It's disgusting. It really is. And you can tell we bring the boats off the water, they all need washing down, and then we have to get all the children in and get them to wash their hands.
2 summers ago, sewage exploded like a giant geyser after backing up in a pipe next to Hammersmith Bridge.
We've had 40,000 discharges of sewage into the River Thames here in Richmond over the last 3 years. The government, they need to be doing more. We need action, not words.
At low tide, I met Liz, a campaigner with the environmental group Thames 21. She wanted to show me a modern sewage horror story.
As you can see here, these are wet wipes that have been snagged and bound onto sticks. They're really disgusting. Wet wipes contain plastic in them and they clog up the sewer system when they're flushed down the loos. This is chucked out of the sewage system, and because of sewage spills, they end up on the foreshore and then fish eat the plastic, and that's devastating to them.
Masses of congealed wipes along the river are mixing with mud to form what are known as wet wipe islands. And the problem isn't confined to the upper reaches of the Thames. According to the Marine Conservation Society, the amount of sewage at the mouth of the river is more than 8 times the national average. And you're 14 times more likely to encounter soiled wet wipes. Today, the Environment Secretary was at the Barnes Wetlands Centre to announce a public consultation on a possible wet wipes ban.
We've already seen some retailers like Boots and Tesco's already stop selling those wet wipes that have plastic in them. Now we're just going to complete it and just ban plastic from wet wipes for good.
But Fergal Sharkey has heard it all before. The former lead singer of the Undertones has become a vocal campaigner for improved water quality after his experiences as an angler.
It's simply regurgitating ideas we've heard before that have never been delivered. This is, for example, the third occasion the government has announced they're going to deal with wet wipes.
Tonight, Thames Water welcomed the proposed wet wipe ban, saying it would make a big contribution to stopping sewer blockages and flooding. Simon Harris, ITV News, Hammersmith.
Well, this is a live Thames Water map of where storm overflows are sending sewage straight into our waterways. All those reds there, mainly to the west of the city, well, they are happening right now. The oranges are ones recorded in the last 48 hours. For a link to this live map and other useful information on water quality, you can go to our website, itv.com/London. A Metropolitan police officer has been handed a restraining order today for stalking and harassing a woman he met while he was on duty. PC Jonathan Simon was also handed a suspended jail sentence. Our senior correspondent Ron K. Phillips is outside Westminster Magistrates Court now for us. Ron K.
Yes, Duncan, as he sentenced him, the district judge told Jonathan Simon that, as for an officer, he'd been anything but a positive role model. But as you say, he was given a suspended sentence, which meant he could walk out of Westminster Magistrates Court, albeit with his head covered with his coat. The background to this case is that Simon met his victim when he was called out to a neighbour dispute. They began a consensual affair, but when she wanted to end it, he wouldn't take no for an answer. He began stalking her on CCTV. He repeatedly turned up at her home, uninvited, and even once turned up at her address with a colleague. He also sent her unsolicited text messages from a withheld number. Now, the judge accepted that Simon knew that his conduct amounted to an error of judgment, and the judge also referred to recent scandals that have engulfed the Met, including the Casey review, and he told Simon that he had brought the Metropolitan Police into disrepute. Now, Simon is already suspended. He now faces a misconduct panel from which he could be sacked, and if he is sacked, that will bring to an end a 10-year career with the force. Back to you.
Ron K, thank you. A man in his 20s has been shot dead in Mitcham. The man was found injured on Croydon Road just before 2:30 this morning. He was taken to hospital but died a few hours later. Police are now asking for anyone who saw anything suspicious or any drivers with dashcam footage to get in touch. 2 people have had to be rescued after a light aircraft crashed in East London. The plane landed into shrubs next to a fishing pond shortly after taking off from Dammins Hall Aerodrome. Firefighters worked for more than an hour to cut the pair out. The woman walked away unscathed and got into an ambulance, but police say the pilot has potentially life-changing injuries. And staff at Google's UK headquarters in King's Cross have been protesting against job losses this afternoon. The Unite union says hundreds of jobs are at risk after the tech giant announced that it would make 10,000 redundancies worldwide. 2 climate protesters who caused chaos when they scaled the Dartford crossing last year have been found guilty of causing a public nuisance. Morgan Trowland and Marcus Decker hung a Just Stop Oil banner from the Queen Elizabeth II bridge and camped up there for 2 days. Now the judge says he's considering jail time. Cafo Patter was in court.
At least answer this. Are you here to self-harm yourself? No. Are you here in protest?
On the 10th of October last year, Marcus Decker and Morgan Trowland climbed to the top of Dartford Bridge.
We're doing this to demand that the government stops all new licensing of oil and gas extraction in the UK.
The protest caused severe gridlock and brought traffic between Essex and Kent to a grinding halt.
Change that the world needs to see.
After 2 days on the bridge, the pair were finally brought down, arrested and taken into custody, and they soon went from fighting for the planet to fighting criminal charges.
On this good green earth, we will...
Today, after 5.5 months in prison and a trial lasting 7 days, fellow activists gathered outside court as they awaited the jury's verdict.
They actually both expect more incarceration. And are prepared for it. Obviously, they would like to get out, but they're not pinning their hopes on it. They recognise that their liberty could, they're going to be in prison for a while.
The end result, although unwanted, wasn't unexpected. After 2 days of deliberation, Marcus and Morgan were unanimously found guilty.
This was an incredibly dangerous thing to do. It was not only dangerous for the individuals who climbed the bridge, but it was dangerous for those that were using the road. The distraction of individuals at height above the carriageway could easily have caused an accident, and then the queues that were caused danger to life, delays to emergency services and to people looking after loved ones.
I think one day they'll look back in history and see, you know, raising awareness is what we need to do for the future of our children, not just in the UK but globally.
Both Marcus and Morgan are due to be sentenced next week. In court today, the defence dropped hints at a request for a suspended sentence, which means they don't actually serve any jail time. However, the judge said that due to the significant disruption caused in Dartford Bridge, the chances of that happening are very slim. And as they await that sentence, Just Stop Oil's fight for climate change continues. Caffrey Pato, ITV News, Basildon.
Now, it is a headache every time you go to the airport, those little plastic bags that you have to fill with your liquids before going through security. But after 17 years, the end is in sight. London City Airport has just become the second airport in the UK to change the rules on liquids and laptops in our hand luggage. It's all thanks to new 3D scanners that should be rolled out across the country next year. Here's Rags Martel with the details.
You hardly notice it at first, but security at London City Airport has made a big change. Liquids are allowed to go through with hand luggage. How was that for you?
It was the best experience of my life. I didn't have to take anything out of my bag. There was nothing to worry about. It was ridiculously convenient. I've never seen this in any airport that I've flown at, so really unique here.
I think it's brilliant, because I said, well, we've got to get rid of my bottle of water, which I brought from home, hadn't drunk, and I was going to chuck it away. And then we went to see the chap here, and he said, no, you can take your water in. So I'm happy, I've got my water.
Brilliant, it was like a religious experience. So they let me, look, all of that, they let me got through. I didn't get hassled, you know what I mean? It didn't strip search me or anything like that. It was beautiful.
How much is it going to change your travelling life?
Well, it's definitely going to make it quicker, definitely, and less expensive because, you know, they charge so much money these days at the airport just for a bottle of water.
Previously, you had to keep your liquids out of your bag. Now, it all goes inside. You can take up to 2-litre bottles, and the laptops and tablets stay inside. We weren't allowed to film through security, but the new CT scanners now take 3D images. It's all so fast, the airport can now check 30% more passengers every hour.
Oh, this is just massive for London City and all of our passengers. No longer do they need to worry about those small plastic bags and cramming their 100ml liquids into those bags. All of that has gone away today, so really big improvement for the passenger experience.
The liquids ban started in 2006 when an Al-Qaeda bomb plot with explosives hidden in bottles was uncovered at Heathrow. Limitations on what could be carried through airport security then changed all over the world. Is there any security being compromised because of this?
Not at all. In fact, security is being enhanced with the new scanners because they are a lot more precise, they're a lot more accurate, and our security officers can actually see a lot more inside the bags with a 3D image which the security machines provide. So actually security is better, and most importantly from a customer perspective, from a passenger perspective, they love it.
The big problem with London City's move is that, of course, it won't necessarily be replicated from the airport that you are going to. And therefore, well, you might fly out of London City and have a really good experience and think, well, I don't need to worry about liquids and laptops coming back. Oh, yes, you do.
The new 3D scanners are scheduled to land at other London airports by June next year. But while liquids and laptops are staying in bags, our belts and shoes still have to come off. Rags Martel, ITV News, London City Airport.
In just a moment, running to remember Dame Barbara Windsor.
She was sitting on the settee looking at me and she said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Barbara, I'm training for a marathon." She said, your legs are too little to run."
Sally catches up with Scott Mitchell as he prepares to take on the London Marathon in her memory. But first, have a look at this. It is a bespoke electric bike and it can go at more than 40 miles per hour. And lots of them are going to be coming to zip around the city this summer as part of a new international racing series. And the aim is for a sporting spectacle, but also to get us thinking about transport in the world's biggest cities. Well, 3 times Olympic medalist Ed Clancy is leading the charge. Welcome to Ed. First of all, tell us about this race in London, where and when.
So, the exact finer details are to be announced, but I can tell you for sure we're going to have an event in London towards the end of the summer. It's some of the viewers might be familiar with town centre or criterium racing, we call it, in road racing. So rather than doing the, it can be sometimes a little bit long and tedious, the point A to point B Tour de France style racing, which lasts for 5 or 6 hours. We kind of bring the racing into the town centres on short, closed circuits. 2 or 3 kilometres, the riders whiz past every 3 or 4 minutes. The races typically last 45 minutes to an hour. They're fast, they're furious, there's usually a couple of crashes. It's very spectator friendly. And now, to add to the excitement, we've electrically charged them. These bikes are going to be de-restricted. They're essentially a consumer product right now, but with the speed limiter taken away. Yeah. So there's plenty of hire bike schemes around London that you will be familiar with, and they have essentially a speed limiter. We're going to take them off for the racing purposes, and I've got no doubt it's going to create some spectacular racing.
There's a promise. OK, Ed, take us through this bike then. So where is the battery?
Yep, so in the down tube, just underneath the bottle cage there.
So that's that big, thick bar in the middle?
That's the one, yep. So there's a big battery that's essentially hidden in there, and even to the trained eye, this looks very similar to an analogue road bike, if you like. This particular bike has got the motor in the centre of the rear wheel, in the hub back there.
Yeah.
Some of the bikes will have a mid-drive system. But yeah, essentially this is a consumer product with the speed limiter removed. And for us, it's going to be great to be able to showcase what can be done with these bikes. But to me, that's only
dare I
part
ask,
of it.
as someone not at all irritated when these things overtake me when I'm out cycling, where does the skill come then if you're going to have a race with something like this where there's a battery?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we're going to have a finite amount of energy stored in this battery, and we're going to purposely make these races long enough and difficult enough that we're not just going to be able to ride around on full power for the whole thing.
OK.
So, cycling's always been about, in my opinion, a beautiful combination of a person and human performance in the machine. And with the addition of electricity, it's going to have another layer of tactics and skill involved in managing your battery life. How, when and where are you best deploying that finite amount of energy you've got stored in the battery? Is it on the hills? Is it out of corners? Is it in the braking zones? There's going to be a lot of crossover with Formula E and motorsport, yeah. OK,
Ed, I'm reassured. Can I say politely on your bike? Thank you very much. Wonderful having you in. Now, film striker Aleksandar Mitrovic has been handed an 8-game ban for grabbing a referee. Mitrovic was sent off for taking Chris Kavanagh by the arm during a game against Manchester United last month. The standard 3-match ban for his red card has been extended by 5 games for violent conduct and language towards a match official. For the third and final time, Dame Barbara Windsor's devoted husband Scott Mitchell will run the London Marathon, and it will undoubtedly be an emotional journey. He's leading a group of her EastEnders co-stars in raising money for the illness that led to her death and to honour a life well lived. Sally joins Scott training in Regent's Park.
As the marathon draws closer, the runs get longer.
Out on hopefully a 14-mile training run today.
Unless you're Adam, the former EastEnder Ian Beale.
So you've been on tour with My Fair Lady, but no, seriously, how many miles have you done this time?
I think the longest one so far has been about 6. Or hour and a half. I cycle a lot, so I'll be fine. No, I know. It's I'm gonna get my bike out.
Get out of my pub. Dame Barbara Windsor, or Babs, became an icon as Peggy Mitchell in EastEnders. So who better to run in her memory than former co-stars Adam and Tanya, plus her husband, Scott.
So are we going to go for a bit of a run now?
Yeah,
why
absolutely,
not?
absolutely.
Okay.
Sun's out,
Yeah.
it's a shame not to embrace it.
Yeah, I can start my training.
Eventually, through a beautiful Regent's Park, we started running, or perhaps trotting is a better word.
Now, Scott, tell us the story about when you told Barbara you were doing the marathon.
Well, yeah, God bless her. She was sitting on the settee looking at me, and she said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Barbara, I'm training for a marathon." She said, your legs are too little to run. So that was Barbara's bit of enthusiasm to get me going.
And now you're on little legs, are you?
Now I'm little legs.
Oh. What do people shout at you when you're running? What's like the best? What are you, man?
People are really fantastic. They'll say, "Great running, come on, you can do this." They really are supportive, and when they realise, that it's for Barbara as well, we'll often get out something. "Babs will be proud. Come on, keep going." So yeah, it's fab.
Now really, let's see those chests come out.
Among Barbara's most famous films, Carry On Camping.
And flee!
But in later life, she suffered from Alzheimer's, and that's why Scott's running the marathon for the third time with the Babs Army to raise money for Alzheimer's Research UK.
What's the worst thing anyone's ever sort of shouted out at you?
What time does this go out?
The worst thing is when it's like sort of you've only done 1 mile and they say not far to the end.
So cruel.
Oh, actually, no. I'll tell you, about mile 25 and a half. Because we've just gone past Westminster. Someone went, "Keep going," and I just went, "I'm not going to stop now."
What would Barbara say now, do you think, Scott, that you're on your third?
I don't know, so I think she
Legs
would.
are still little.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, they've got littler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're wearing them down, love. No, I think she'd be immensely proud, not only of me, but of all her friends.
Scott turned 60 just after the race, so with that in mind, we brought him a slightly dodgy marathon kit bag.
Happy big one. Hopefully a little training bag for the marathon.
Oh,
I mean, it's
Sally in London tonight. Thank you so much.
so bad.
In it, some plasters for blisters and apparently the all-important petroleum jelly for chafing.
It's the only time you accept Vaseline from a stranger.
And so, in a memory of a woman they all loved, for a cause they all support, it will no doubt be a hard but very special day.
Oh, what a great man. Sally, you're going to be sticking with Scott, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the idea. We're going to go with him on the marathon, not actually run it, but, catch up with him. And then hopefully he'll come and join us and tell us, what it was all about and whether the petroleum jelly was any help.
I hope it is.
Well,
you were basking in the sunshine there out in Regent's Park, but you're going to ruin it, aren't you?
Oh, Duncan, I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry to anybody at home if you have hay fever. But the pollen has spiked. Now, not grass pollen, it's tree pollen. Look at that. We've got high tomorrow, medium on Thursday, and high again as the weather settles down again on Friday.
It's too soon.
How are you? Are you suffering
I'm okay,
yet?
but tree pollen is the worst. Well, for me, anyway.
Yeah, it's the birch. I remember you last year, you were all over. I need to do a story on this boy.
It's this road.
Well, apparently 95% of hay fever sufferers are actually grass, but, Duncan's always been a bit special, hasn't he? Anyway, it's the weather.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello again. Well, what a day. I hope you managed to enjoy a bit of sunshine. This little one certainly did, plodding along, going nowhere particularly fast. Tomorrow it is a little bit cloudier and turning cloudier from the west as we go through the day with some rain later, so not quite as much sunshine around. And then into Thursday, some sunshine, but also some showers. Some of them could be a little bit heavy. So for tonight, enjoy that evening sunshine. It's going to turn a tiny bit cloudier overnight, but there are still quite a lot of clear skies out there, and where it's clearest, that's where it'll get coldest. We could get well down to below freezing in the countryside. And there is likely, again, some patchy frost around. So another chilly start as we head on into Wednesday. The best of that sunshine holding on in the east for longest. That cloud moves in from the west as we go through the day, turning a bit thicker ahead of this front heading our way later on. And our temperatures, although they're not too dissimilar, highs of 10 to 13 with less sunshine around and a bit of a breeze, it will feel a little bit cooler. And then through the latter part of the afternoon and evening, that rain continues to make its way eastwards. Not particularly heavy, but it is a bit slow moving. We get some showers as we head on into Thursday, hopefully a bit of sunshine too. And then from Friday onwards, apart from the odd shower, generally things improving again. That's it.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Thank you, Sally. And that is it. We're back with the latest after news at 10. Lucrezia is here next, though, with the ITV Evening News. From me and the rest of the London team, thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely evening. Good night.